Many of you have no clue who this guy is, and I'm gonna be completely honest. I didn't even know who this guy was until I was scrolling through my Instagram page and I came across a post that 50 Cent made in reference to this guy and some stuff that he said that had people questioning, will the J community cancel him? And it was basically spoken in a tone of sarcasm because we know that they won't, or something along those lines. Now, this guy's name is Randall Emmett, and apparently he's some kind of big name in Hollywood. Like I said, I never heard of the guy before ever in my life, but like I said, it caught my attention because 50 Cent posted about him on his page. Now, I don't want to spoil for you yet as to the connection he has to 50 Cent, but it's going to be explained in this article that I'm going to read for you coming out of the LA Times. The title reads, Randall Emmett sued for race discrimination, hostile workplace by former assistant. It was dated November 1st, 2022. One of Randall Emmett's former assistants has sued the once prominent filmmaker, accusing him of racial discrimination and creating a hostile workplace that included the use of the N-word. Martin G. Blay, age 29, worked at the production company Emmett Furler Oasis for much of 2020 and served as a production assistant on Emmett's action movie Midnight and the Switchgrass. In a lawsuit filed Tuesday in Los Angeles Superior Court, G. Blay, who was black, alleges that race discrimination was a factor in his termination. The complaint against Emmett, business partner George Furler, and their LA-based film production company asserts that Emmett made racist comments about black performers, including rappers 50 Cent. I don't know why they put Cardi B in there, but they threw her in there as far as black performance because we know she's not black. And Quavo, the Atlanta rapper Quavo of Migos co-stars in Savage Salvation, an Emmett-directed movie starring Robert De Niro, which is scheduled for release next month. Randall Emmett has never used a racial derogatory term in his life, and Mr. G. Blay knows it. Sue-Ann McIsaac, Emmett's attorney at the Kinsella Weitzman law firm, said Tuesday night in a statement. Mr. Emmett looks forward to vigorously defending this action. G. Blay's lawsuit contains 24 claims of alleged legal violations, including that Emmett asked G. Blay to retrieve a brick of cocaine from a hotel room in Puerto Rico during a work trip in early 2020. And I'm looking at his picture. He looks like he goes ski sloping. I'm just saying. The former assistant also said Emmett enlisted him in an insurance fraud scam, asking him to file an insurance claim for his missing Rolls Royce, which G. Blay maintains wasn't actually stolen. By bringing to light the illegal pay scheme, discrimination, harassment, and retaliation that I suffered during my employment with Randall Emmett and his companies, I'm glad to open the floor for these discussions to take place, G. Blay said in the statement. I hope through this is a message is made that there are just some things you cannot remain silent about. Illegal practices, abuse, and your rights within the workplace are just a few of many. Several of G. Blay's complaints were described in a Los Angeles Times investigation last summer into Emmett's crumbling empire. The Times detailed allegations of mistreatment of women, assistants, and investors who poured millions of dollars into Emmett's film projects. Several financiers are now suing Emmett and Furler for civil fraud, which both men deny. In June, Emmett spokesperson Sally Hoffmeister declined to comment on claims of his alleged past drug use, but emphasized that the producer has been sober since October 2021. She added in a statement at the time that G. Blay has only recently criticized Randall despite previously speaking about him in glowing terms, even after leaving EFO. The filing comes amid a rising tide and discontent among Hollywood assistants who have spoken out about low wages and harsh treatment by Hollywood execs. Emmett has been a fixture in Hollywood for 2 decades, producing more than 120 movies, including low-budget action films starring Bruce Willis, Sylvester Stallone, and Mel Gibson. Emmett also has co-produced critically acclaimed movies, including Peter Berg's Lone Survivor and 2 of Martin Scorsese's films, Silence and the Oscar-nominated The Irishman, for Netflix. The lawsuit said Emmett became upset in August 2020 after reading a book by Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, who has a dim view of Emmett. The two men were once business partners and co-produced the Starz series Power, but they had a public falling out in 2019. In early 2020, Jackson released the book Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter. Emmett got mad at 50 Cent and G-Blay. He called 50 Cent this effing N-word and then said to G-Blay, all you guys are alike. All you guys do is hustle people. He then threw the book at G-Blay, the lawsuit states. So that part right there that I just read is how I found out about this story via 50 Cent's Instagram page. G-Blay contends he was targeted in other ways. Emmett often dropped money around G-Blay and left expensive watches and jewelry around him as if to see if he would steal them, according to the lawsuit. Other employees noted to G-Blay the oddity of it, as they noticed Emmett would only do this around G-Blay. Emmett also asked G-Blay, then the only African-American employee at the Emmett Furlough Oasis, to turn out his pockets to check to see if he had stolen anything. Emmett did this to play into the stereotype that African-Americans are thieves. In another incident, while watching the Latina rapper Cardi B on TV, Emmett allegedly called her a ratchet B and expressed that he had trouble understanding what she was saying. So he asked G-Blay to translate for him. The complaint added that Emmett said he had trouble understanding Quavo and once asked G-Blay, Martin, if I go out with Quavo, would anyone know who he is, or is it just like a culture thing? G-Blay, who was paid $1,500 every 2 weeks, said he was on call 12 hours a day and on weekends, resulting in pay that amounted to less than California's minimum wage. And he said he was often asked to cover Emmett's personal expenses, including meals and stays. To date, G-Blay has only been partially reimbursed for these expenses. In her statement, McIsaac accused G-Blay of attempting to extort thousands of dollars from Mr. Emmett for months, although he claims he is owed for past expenses. Mr. G-Blay's story perpetually changes, and he has refused to back up any of the supposed unpaid expenses, she said. In the lawsuit, G-Blay said he was subjected to religious discrimination because he is Muslim and faced discrimination based on a disability, attention deficit, or hyperactivity disorder. In June 2020, Emmett called G-Blay into his office in front of at least 2 other people and asked, what was that sickness you had that makes you retarded? Although uncomfortable with the question, G-Blay reminded him that he had ADHD, according to the lawsuit. Employment attorneys Young K. Park and Tara Hattendorf of the law firm Marlis Park are representing G-Blay. The suit does not specify damages sought, but does ask for a jury trial. Last year, in an effort to get his expenses repaid, G-Blay sent text messages to EFO's accountant and Emmett. The producer then left several voice memos, including one offering G-Blay $50,000 to help produce a movie, saying he was in a sad place right now. The voice memo, reviewed by the Times, were left just days after Emmett's former fiancée Lala Kent, a star of Vanderpump Rules, broke off their relationship amid allegations that Emmett was cheating. Kent, who shares custody of a young daughter with Emmett, has been outspoken about their relationship. Last month, Emmett's former wife Amber Childers sought a restraining order against the producer after she received emails in which Emmett's attorney allegedly spoke about her in a threatening manner. A judge denied Childers' request. She and Emmett have 2 daughters together. And that is the entire article right there. Let me just tell you right now, this guy just sounds like a complete piece of shit. All the way through and through. Did you hear the things that he was saying to his assistant, around his assistant, or having his assistant do based on stereotypes when it comes to black people, especially that part about the stealing? I remember that was a rampant stereotype, especially back in the 90s, that black people stole a lot. Now, granted, I was a child back in the 90s, but that was something that was portrayed in the media a lot, whether it be on television shows or in film, that black people stole a lot. No, and it didn't even matter what the age was or the gender. If you was a boy or a girl or a man or a woman, young or old, if you was black, they always had this stigma on you that you stole. I remember it was an episode of Smart Guy. Some of y'all may remember it. It was the episode where Yvette, who was played by Essence Atkins, had got a job working in this clothing store, and she and her PC friend, they both got a job working there, and they had Yvette working at the as a cashier, and they had her PC friend literally walking around following people around the store. And how ironic, the people that were following her or found that the manager, who was a PC woman herself, who she had them following around, were black people. And they even did like a whole, like, I don't want to go into the whole thing about the episode. If you've seen it, you know how it resolved itself. Because if I spent time explaining what happened at every pivotal part of the episode, we would be here for way longer than we need to. But if you haven't checked that episode out, please do. I forgot what the name of the episode was, and I forget what season. I want to say it might have been maybe season 3. I'm not entirely sure. But for those of you who remember that episode, who watched the show back in the day, know exactly which episode I'm talking about. And the ending of that episode was like a chef's kiss. I don't want to spoil it for y'all just in case you haven't seen it, but if you have seen it, you know how the episode ended. It was like one of those things where it was like haha, like them haha moments. But anyway, back to this individual here. So he basically this guy put out every kind of stereotype that he could think of when it came to black people. Like even when he was talking about 50 Cent, you know, about hustling, and you know, these guys are hustlers and everything like that. He also seems like he has a little man syndrome. Like for some reason, he just strikes me as a short individual. I could be wrong, where he feels like he has to puff his chest out and feel like he's bigger than what he actually is, or feels like he has all this authority because he's worked in all these films with all these prominent people and think that he's better than other people. He even made fun of this black man's disability and whatnot. Like he didn't take it seriously at all. But we're supposed to feel sorry for them whenever something happens and they say, oh, this person just had a mental illness. No diagnosis, excuse me, but just that they, you know, they had a mental illness, and we're supposed to just deal with that and take that there. Now, I believe that the question that 50 Cent had, if I can find it on my phone, that he was asking when it pertained to this, I'm actually read the post that he made. He said, "This does not surprise me. This guy is a real piece of shit. Randall Emmett. But wait, is he canceled for this?" And that's the part when he was calling him the N-word and calling him an effing N-word. Then he threw about Cardi B, and I'm still stuck on why they threw her in the category with black people. As a matter of fact, when I was reading the article, I kind of edited it a little bit because it said black Latina. I don't know Cardi B to have ever claimed to be an Afro Dominican or an Afro Latina. She just always claimed to be Dominican. But because she is a rapper, she gets lumped in with us. And because she's a rapper who pretty much got her footing off the ground thanks to black people, they throw her into the category as black when that's not even the case. But they were saying, you know, she was ratchet, and, you know, I need a translator to understand what she said. Basically, whenever he needed an understanding, or when someone who was black or black adjacent, we'll just say black adjacent with her because she ain't black, they asked him to do the footwork and say, can you translate this for me? And a whole bunch of other unnecessary things. And he was getting severely underpaid by this guy too, while making him do more work than he was supposed to. That was outlined in his contract. Like literally, he was treating this G-Blade character like his slave, like demeaning him, making fun of him, insulting him, probably calling him names. And I bet you what I read is only the tip of the iceberg. I'm willing to bet that there was way more that he probably said and did than what has been outlined and what I just read. But I'm sure it'll all reveal itself in the courtroom. It seems to me like they have enough documents in order to go forward. And it's not like it was a huge gap of when this stuff was happening, because they kept mentioning 2020. So that's only 2 years ago. But we shall see what actually happens. I got to ask a question though. Has anybody ever heard of this guy? Because like I said, I never heard of this Randall Emmett until today. I'm recording this on November 2nd. I never heard of this Randall Emmett guy. Even with the people that they listed that he's worked with, I heard of them. When they mentioned The Irishman, I heard of that movie, never watched it, but I heard of the movie. But I never heard of this guy right here. But if y'all live in California, maybe you have heard of him, or people who are in the film, maybe you've heard of him as well. I'm not sure, because I don't, know. And then on top of that, what he has going on here, he has stuff going on in his personal life with his ex-wife and wanting to get a restraining order against them, with their kids and whatnot. Unfortunately, that didn't go completely as planned for him and her. But I hope more and more of these individuals continue to get exposed. How much is going to actually be effective, I don't know, because allegedly this guy is a part of the J community. Allegedly. I'm not entirely sure, but I think he might be. And if he is, he's going to be way more than just protected. He's going to like be very shielded, even with all of the stuff that he has said, and how he has treated his employees. So I wouldn't even hold my breath when it comes to quote unquote consequences that should befall before this individual.